What's up, guys? Thank you so much for being here. So today I'm just going to do a video of 5 tips for new gun owners. I probably could have made the list longer, but this is just 5. I didn't want it to be too long, and I thought these 5 were pretty good. So number 1 is the most important because it's the 4 safety rules. So the first safety rule of guns is always treat a gun like it's loaded. Number 2 sort of goes along with that, but it's never point a gun at something that you're not willing to destroy. So, some people are like, well, I'm not willing to destroy anything. But there's certain things that you're really not willing to destroy, like a family member or basically any person. Number 3 is keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. So this one's a little bit difficult for new shooters or anybody who hasn't really shot before, because I think the natural instinct when you pick up a gun is to put your finger in the trigger guard. So this part is called the trigger guard because it guards the trigger. So, from things bumping into it. And I think naturally people just want to go like this, By the way, this gun's unloaded. There's not even a magazine in it, so it's okay. But anyways, I think that's just what most people do. They can't help it. They just go like this. And if you're with anybody who's responsible, they're going to catch that right away and just, give you some advice to, hey, watch out, don't put your finger there, unless you're obviously ready to shoot. A good tip, which is what everybody does, is just pick up guns like this, Say you go to a gun shop and you're looking to choose a gun, and this is something you should do if you're looking to choose a gun, is you go to a gun shop and you ask the guy at the counter, to show you different guns, because obviously you need to learn a little bit about them and see what you're comfortable with. But when you're doing that, a lot of new gun owners, they grab the gun, they pick it up, and they pick it up like this, and the guy's right across from them, and they're pointing it at the guy, and they don't like that. Anybody who works at a gun counter, they're all really friendly, at least ones that I've dealt with. They're very friendly guys, they love to talk about guns, but they don't obviously want a gun pointed at them, even if they know it's unloaded because they just handed it to you. It's just kind of one of those things you don't do. You can kind of look at it like this, and you never point it at anybody. You just kind of point it down the whole time. You're looking at it, you're checking it out. You hand it back to the guy like this. But anyways, let's not get off track. I'm trying to show you guys how to just grab a gun and just do this every single time. Eventually, it'll become complete habit. Like, you won't even have to think about it, because when you go to pick up the gun, that's what you do. And you don't ever put your finger on the trigger until your sights are on target and you're ready to shoot. So, anyways, that's that. Rule number 4 is know your target and know what's beyond it. So if you're say you're just shooting outside somewhere. Obviously, if you're at an indoor range, you know your target because it's right in front of you. You're in a lane and you know what's behind it because it's enclosed. But if you're outside, say you just go somewhere to shoot, like in public land, and you set up your paper target or your steel target, and maybe you feel like shooting from really far away this time. Make sure you're not going so far away from your target that you don't even quite know that if you're shooting at your target anymore. Say you go so far that you can barely see it and you're not quite sure if you're even shooting at the right thing. That's totally a no-no. You want to make sure you know what you're shooting at, 100%, not 99%, 100%. Know what you're shooting at and know what's behind it. So if you're just in a big flat area and you don't know where your bullet's going to end, that's part of that rule. You want to go shoot somewhere where there's a big hill behind you, like behind your target, so that way if you miss, regardless whether you miss or not, your bullet's going into the dirt, right behind the target. Tip number 2. So all these tips might kind of have a few different tips within them, but I couldn't help it. So tip number 2 is just to know the laws. So know your local laws, the state laws, the federal laws. Obviously there's hundreds of laws when it comes to guns, but know everything that directly applies to, pretty much you have to know everything that has to do with you doing it legally, being safe and all that. So know where you're allowed to shoot. Like if you're shooting outside, obviously not an indoor range, but if you're outside in public land or whatever, know where you're allowed to shoot, where you're not allowed to shoot. You don't want to get in any trouble. Know certain states don't let you have more than a certain amount of rounds in your magazine. which that's a whole nother topic. But anyways, you want to abide by the rules. And so you just got to know everything like that. Know how to transport your gun. Some states you have to have it locked in a case, and your ammo has to be locked in a separate case in two different parts of the car. I know it's complicated, but once you know it, it's something easy to do. I used to live in California. I grew up in San Diego. And if you have a gun, I mean, it might have changed by now, so don't quote me, but that's why I said do your research and know your laws. But before in San Diego, if I wanted to go to the gun range, my gun had to be locked in a case, and I would put it in the back of the car, like in the trunk or something. And then I would put the ammo in a case, like in the back seat. So they're in two separate parts of the car. There's no ammo in the gun's not loaded or anything. So anyways, that's just an example. Just know your rules, your laws, so you don't get yourself in any trouble, and so you don't put a bad name for gun owners by breaking a law somehow. Tip number 3 that I have is do your research before you buy a gun. And what I mean by that is don't just look up like, oh, what's the best gun? Your top 5 guns of 2020 or something. Because you're just going to see the number 1 gun on the list and you might go buy that, but it might not be right for you. You know, it depends on what you're going to use it for. So are you going to use it just for home defense? Are you going to carry the gun, like concealed carry? You're interested in getting your carry license? Or just for plinking out in the mountains to have fun, shooting at targets, or competition? Like there's tons of different reasons to buy a gun. And so if you don't really know what you're going to buy it for, and you're just buying one that you heard is a really good gun, well, you might spend $500 or whatever, and then 2 months later you're like, wow, this is a great gun for home defense, but hopefully I'll never have to use it for that, and now I just want a gun to go shoot for fun, and this is really boring for that, you know? And sometimes that's the case. Sometimes you buy one for one thing and one for something else, but if you're buying your first gun, it'd be nice if you took all your time to decide what you're going to use it for and make the right choice. So do your research, go to the gun range, ask the guy at the gun counter, hey, can I look at that one? Hold it, be responsible, but hold it, see how it feels. Ask them if you can shoot it, because lots of times they have guns that you can rent, and pretty much most popular handguns and other guns that are sold a lot, they'll have them for rent there. And so, rent them, try different ones, feel them out, ask the guy what he thinks, and make a good decision. But anyways, those guys at the gun counters, they don't mind talking. They love to talk about guns. They love just spitting out knowledge. And so if you're there, you tell them you're a new gun owner, they'll be more than happy to help you. Tip number 4 is know your gun and know everything about it. So what I mean by that is, obviously I put tip number 4 after tip number 3 because you can't know your gun and everything about it if you don't know which gun you have yet. So anyways, tip number 4 is know your gun and everything about it. So know how it functions, know how to disassemble it and clean it and reassemble it. These are all things that you can pretty much read up on the internet, watch YouTube videos. I'll be making a lot more videos moving forward about like how to clean a gun and just different things like that. And then another thing that kind of, I guess, is something that gets skipped over, but know what kind of ammo to put in your gun. I know that sounds dumb, but there's some guns that have ammo that sound really similar. Like you might buy a gun that's chambered in 22, but there's 22 LR, there's 22 WMR, there's like 22 Magnum, which I don't know. There's multiple different kinds of 22. And so if you don't know, if you put the wrong one in, or you try to put the wrong one in, for one, like it might just not work. Worst case scenario, it's going to like explode in the gun and just not be good. It's going to ruin your gun. You might get hurt. It's just bad. So just make sure you know what kind of ammo that you're buying and that it's the right kind for your gun. If you're not sure, once again, go to the gun counter, let them know what you own, and they'll tell you exactly if that works for that gun. Anyways, yeah, just do your research, know your gun. Plus, you'll feel a lot more confident when you go to shoot it if you have like done a lot of research and you know how it works and you know how to clean it and you just understanding. It's just like anything else. It's kind of like using a piece of machinery or a car. Like if you don't know what kind of gas to put in your fuel tank, you're probably going to cause problems with your car. Or if you put your coolant in the oil and you put your oil in your coolant, you're probably going to cause problems with your car. So it's really not that complicated, but you definitely want to know what you're doing before you just show up and start using it. So tip number 5 is just have fun with it. And so what I mean is guns are a lot of fun. I mean, you might not think that right now because you're just buying your first gun and you're just buying it like just to have a gun for home defense, and you don't care about them, you don't think they're cool. In fact, maybe you think gun owners are a bunch of weirdos or a bunch of crazy guys. I don't know. But just have fun with it, because I think you'll see that like there's a lot more to it than just home defense. I mean, that's important, and that's a very good reason to have a gun, and I have a wife, and that's a good reason to have a gun. But you also want to like have fun with it, you know? You don't want to go to use something and you're just completely afraid of it and you just hate the thing that you're going to use for defending your life potentially. And so there's different ways to have fun with it. I mean, there's lots of online gun stores. You can go to a gun store and get like different sights for your gun. You can have your gun coated in these different colors if you wanted. There's just different ways to have fun with the gun. So have fun with it. Go set up some targets. Enjoy yourself. Bring some friends who maybe it's their first time too. You can show them this video so you guys are all being safe and, you know, knowing what you're doing the right thing. But yeah, have fun with it because it's a lot of fun. And I have a 6th bonus tip. It's kind of just a goofy one, but my tip is subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to other gun YouTubers, because there's a lot of information. Obviously, yes, it'd be nice if you subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. Hit the like button if you're into that. But regardless, you know, subscribe to some YouTubers, watch their videos, and that'll help with kind of everything else that I said as well. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time.